Kerang kusidabimpe. Oh, lasso. So, my name's Kala Mendoza, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm not Tibetan. Nga pupa me, ini nga sem pupa ying. Nge pogi chedu soklu tanki. I started with Students for Free Tibet way back in 1990, in the 90s. And since then, I have been extremely lucky to be part of a movement and to be invited into a community that cares so much about their future and fights so hard for their basic fundamental rights. I joined the staff of SFT in 2006 to 2009, and during that time, I got to see and work with a lot of you that are here today. And during that time, we were ramping up for the 2008 Beijing Olympics. When we heard about the Chinese government getting the honor of hosting the Olympics, one of the first organizations to start to strategize around what we can possibly do was Students for Free Tibet, along with many other organizations like the Tibetan Youth Congress, Tibetan Women's Association, Tibetan associations all over the world. And what we saw in that moment from 2001 to 2008 was this revitalization of resistance. I saw with my own two eyes that Tibetans and non-Tibetans found a moment that we were going to tell the Chinese government that their occupation was going to be stopped, that the future of Tibet is going to be in the hands of the Tibetan people and the Tibetan people alone. It was an honor to be in solidarity with the Tibetan people, to watch that happen. And in March of 2008, we saw the uprising inside Tibet, led by Tibetans. And we are extremely lucky to have Dunda Bangchenla and Lama Tsola here with us today. Dunda Bangchenla is a Tibetan filmmaker who created the film Leaving Fear Behind that became a rallying cry for people all over the world. We saw that Tibetans were putting their lives on the line to show the world that China did not deserve the Olympics, that China was using the Olympics as a political tool. And with young Tibetans and elders, we were able to stand up against the Chinese government. I'd just like to invite for folks to just look around the room right now at each other, but also at the walls. We have a lot of images from people who have taken action, and we want to invite folks to really just connect, to find out what their stories were. I was very lucky to be part of an action in Beijing on August 8th, where we were going to do a solidarity action that mirrored the 1968 Mexico City Olympics action by two black activists and one Australian activist. I was there with Cesar Maxit and Jonathan Sterling-Us, and we were beaten, detained, and deported. But the thing that we realized is that no matter what happened to us, what was happening to Tibetans inside Tibet was so much worse. What we could do as non-Tibetans was to put our bodies on the line, like many non-Tibetans that are here, to show solidarity with the Tibetan people in their struggle for freedom and independence. And now, 10 years later, I'm looking out and I see folks who were out on Mount Everest, who were imprisoned in Beijing, who were quite ready to die for the Tibetan cause. And I'm very, very privileged to also acknowledge that we have young Tibetans like Sonamso, like Dorje Setenla, like Uginla, who are leading the movement, who are continuing this legacy of resistance. And as a non-Tibetan, I will always follow and look to the leadership of Tibetans. So, with that, yeah, that was my spiel. I also just really want to quickly acknowledge the Tibetans, especially the elders in the room here, who have really been a huge inspiration, like Sonamang Dula. Where's Sonamang Dula? who is an OG freedom fighter that has been doing the work for quite a few years. And we continue to get strength and power from that. So with that, I'm going to check myself and just once again thank everyone for being here today. So thank you.
Thanks, Kala. Yeah, I think that's a little hard to follow up to, so I'm not going to try. And I promise we didn't pay him to say any of that. So to begin the program tonight, we want to start with the Lakar Awards. I think many of you already know what the Lakar Awards are, but we will invite Doja Setanla, the Executive Director of Students for Free Tibet, to the stage to share about Lakar Awards.
Hello. Singidwa. Thongma ani tanda nitong ge ani saji shigwe chimbore tenanshi Olympic ge ani legu lochu kobe tudin zegola ande peba changmala ningtabone tuchina shweyi. Ani zego di thone lagar ge sengda di ngazu sojung gi ngone ta ngazu tanda de tunduwanche la pheyo tunduwanche la ge tabzu gi kurang gi ledang da tabzu gi nyamshu tabardo phe yagab da miri gi che to chale hangsaya mangbu na yore di che do ani ngazu ge lagar ge sengda di tunduwanche la ngazu phe gi dusi ngazu tenge chungsu ta di mabu kong la ngazu ge nyendung ji ge nyendung de ta tunduwanche ge kale gya ba de nyendung tungdu ji ngazu ma chik jembishuna samsorwa ani nge inge thone che khashi shu chuwa che. Thank you everyone for coming to this special event as we are commemorating the 10-year anniversary of 2008 uprising and the Beijing campaign. It's an honor to all of us, all of you, to be here with us. And we will begin this program with Lakar Award. Students for Free Tibet started Lakar Award in 2010 in support and solidarity for the Tibetan movement, Lakar movement, which is a grassroots movement inside Tibet, the Tibetan people, to reassert our identity, our culture, and through non-cooperation, Lakar movement was started. And then it has been spread across the globe that Tibetans are now observing Lakar, on every Wednesday, which is the sole day of His Holiness Dalai Lama, to, reassert our culture, identity, and the resistance. So we are really honored to, present this year 2008 Lakar Award to Tundu Wanche La. As we know, Tundu Wanche La has sacrificed so much for the movement. In 2008, with his film Jigdale, Living Fear Behind, he tried to amplify the voice of Tibetan people inside Tibet when during the Beijing Olympic time, and hundreds of people had expressed their true feeling of what Tibetan people inside Tibet feel about His Holiness Dalai Lama, what Tibetan people feel about the Tibetan resistance and Tibetan movement, and that has captured the imagination of the Tibetan movement around the world. And because of his work, he was arrested, he was tortured, detained, and he was put behind prison for over 6 years. And because of his sacrifice, his work, which has inspired everyone, Tibetans across, around the world, Tibetan inside and outside. So we would like to honor, and we are honored to present Lakar Award to Tundu Wanche. And before I invite Tundu Wanche, we would like to screen a short video of Tundu Wanche. Thank you, everyone. Lakar Award for Resistance 2018 is presented to Thundu Wangche for his fearless spirit and his outstanding contribution and sacrifice to the Tibetan freedom struggle. His courage and determination in amplifying Tibetan resistance make him a true hero of Tibet. Please welcome Thundu Wangche on the stage. So I will welcome Ugenla to translate Thundu Wangche la. Ani tanda Thundu Wangche la susuge ani chek ma nyamnyong da susuge mise lujuma du sungurerwa.
Nitradela peobe ani potong jachura da ani jar masu tonyewa ani tona jenta aju chiku mai ba ani sloni peobe ani boru nda tsama ani tona jenta potong tezowa potong lingwa ani dela da musegi da porong zen lo chu chupege dran ko jino ni ani nga chu tsama dela nianzong shwa ha cheng ge gao chong ani tiji chi shwe
I would like to say hello to the supporters and the democracy activists, the Americans and people who have also come from outside, and also Tibetan activists, and especially Students for Free Tibet for holding this event today. I'm very happy to be here. Tashitalak.
Tatara niton jeki ta sashi shigo chimu ge jeni ta lo chukori dan zegu jiteng nimu jiki wari ani labar ta jite lonye ti tani ta loji korgi nimu ta rang la kindu ani namba zo changma ge ta danda per de ani jite lonye la ta donang tang jachur ta nang jen zhezhak tang ling pe wa ani ngazu ta po nang ge ta ji jesu zongba mongbo ji la pen toyo wa ani labar de tan jite lonye nang ge ta ngazu jite lonye tin la ani me mongbo ji zong ji bari ina ta namba zu ge ta ji linga ta ani ji zhezhak tezu la tani ani me mongbo ji lo zhu tang ba ji ani tezu changma ge gang la ta ha li bi ta pen to chimbu ji yo ba ani nge ku ken di ji ni po ki jesu zongba yong ge che ji ni ani namba zu changma la de ji chi yin.
So it has been now 10 years since the 2008 mass uprisings in Tibet, but it's also been 10 years since the documentary "Leaving Fear Behind" or Jigdel has been made. So it is an anniversary also for the film that we had made, and that you all know very well. The support and outreach for the documentary "Leaving Fear Behind" and the advocacy for the political prisoners, I'm very happy to see and very encouraged to see. And thank you for all of it. As many of you may know, countless people were arrested after the release of that documentary. But thanks to your help, thanks to your advocacy, thanks to your outreach, many of them were released shortly afterwards. And on behalf of them and all of the political prisoners inside Tibet, I would like to say thank you.
Zugui Jinsenti, and a member Chiki Hakuni Rugu, and it is Ugala, Tangarangi, Tonkanangi, Jurenji, Tanajan Slola Yonagi, that is Tamaki Gana Testi, Duduchi, and it is Mombo Makawagani, decision in Rosso.
So I think a lot of people here would like to know how and why the film "Leaving Fear Behind" was made, and also want to know what happened afterwards. So I will speak very briefly about the film, why it was made, how I was arrested, and my release.
Tangaran Chisate Ando Tons Chonjong Sajachiri, I think Azu Tutan Tuti, Shangli, Naran Tonata, Zaman Mombo Yobim Sanchini, Talonshon Bari, I did Azu Pinja Jut Zeori. I take Gangeta Hota and Ruteo Mari, and a low Joje Pertu, the Sajatela Shangli Chini, the Jugimi Chiji, I Chiluchik Tonki Jakuni Lula, the Hasayon Juri, Hasayon de Sambata, Poki jere lujuzandra poki ni tang ane janake poti zanzu chi tang ta tezugi ni chu kake hamakuagi mechiri.
So I hail from a small town in Amdo. We are 10 siblings, and many of our family, our livelihood is farming. So many of us never went to school. In 1992, however, I had a chance to come to Lhasa, and after I came to Lhasa, I came to find out about the various persecutions that my people faced under the Chinese occupation.
Ta Lhasa leni ani poki ta jongchi mombo cheke su jeke ta merke chetun ani jana jongla shwengu go chigo wa ani tende thama nizla thombari ta te thondi samba ani susu jeke yobi merke imba geta ninjon chibari ta ti perto susu jeke yobi merke imba ani hagu go yo mari poki lujuta ani poki ta chi nitang jana ka zanzu chiba ta tezo ngyogi ni tsama jana jangeta tsama merpertang yori me jongchi tezo ge hagu go yo mari.
I realized after I witnessed 2 protests in Lhasa that I too have a nation. I belong to a country called Tibet, and my people as well. And all of these are repressed so hard by the Chinese government that a lot of our youth actually never knew that we have our own history, that we have a very rich culture, that we have a nation.
Ta teni zonte ngem chila jorwa simbari ani susu ta jeke opi marichi imba mase ta susu ina popa chi imba chani susu lang genkurta jimuchi obata naina genkurta yuteme bita chi karsi gorita genkur ta naina susu torteme bi genkurchi oba ai susu gi ta po merila pentwe dika gari gari chi tegdo ta tizuge gala ta tonang hali ta shuchimbu chi jongni ani tanda parta ta lo mombo chila ani sugi ta tizula chi lengez nanda tezo mombo chila ta nyenshuge chiyonjuri ai susugi na ta nacho tangya te nanjeng ta chume lume ge susu ge ta rjong ani susugi ta khori ta tinde mombo chila ta chi janno jong ta torlo tong go yoba ani me samala ta ta zan zangang tang nyanon chi go yoba mombo chi tongyong di samba susu na ta chi karsi go ta chi tizula ta sanang ge mazoba ani susugi ta chi pomrila pentwe dikaji jiagi ta nanda sanshung ta shuchimbu chi jibare.
So my life changed completely after I started to realize the crackdowns on not just my culture, but on my people. I realized then that I have a responsibility, I have a very unique responsibility as a Tibetan, that I need to help my people and further their goals and work towards that for many, many years. So I started to be more involved. Specifically, the things that I was most concerned about were my culture, my language, my history, and I couldn't bear to see it all being erased in front of my eyes.
Ta jana jongi ta pote ranjur chini ta lo mombo chi dugo yori ta nga chunga gni poki shiwi te choti tanda perto chai jang yo mar khperto jachi charnang nang ani me mombo merso tang bar me mombo changju chi bar ta na je guchu ko tang na ta ngarang zuge hakuni moki thonju gi ta nichu tinde mombo chang yori imbaina ta chi jana jongi tizula chawani ngilen chi go yo mari ti ma se ta jechi ge gang lai ta tizugi ta chi chachia ge juchala sukpa ta nang po nang la yori ina ta shulula toma thuwa gi ta gange tinde mombo chi cheni ani tanda perto ta thewari ta jana jongi ka tu ina ta chigzun tang heba ani po nang gi ta chi po mari tizu dichi ge chuwa ro go yo ani chi zukchen shu chi ji yo ba ta tendre gi ta chjo ta jechi ge gang la shuchimbu chi go yori ta chi me mombo chi ke janang gi ta chi chjo chi ya tela me chama gi ta ninzu chi go yori ta po nang gi ta ngyo gi ni po ki chi ta rjong ke yu ani khoila sukpa ta nyenchkan ro go ba tizula me gi tonang ta yong tko yo mari ta me ti jan na jong gi ta po ti ta chi mu ki thoya me ba chi ta zamen ro go yo bi ta to ke chi la ke yori.
So we all know that since 1950s, after the occupation of Tibet, so many people were killed, so many arrested. And similarly, in the 1980s, a similar level of uprising resulted in many more being killed and arrested. And in the 90s, again, I personally witnessed many arrests and crackdowns on my people. But this is something that the Chinese government never accepts. They always try to paint a picture of Tibet as this beautiful, developed place where all the people are happy. But there's no way to verify these facts. The international media has no access. And China's propaganda, to a certain extent, is actually successfully spread out to the whole world. So Tibet becomes a very dark corner, and many people are simply exposed to what the Chinese government says. So I could say that Tibet was disappearing in front of my eyes.
당 가서 직접 로년디 메지 니게 지 주주게 로년지 말이 다 수게다 메 몽보지게 냐뇽다 로 몽보지게 다 가두다 냐뇽 대주 주동지니 아니 메 몽보지게 로다 로동 지요아리 아니 사자 몽보 보사 용조라 고라지니 다 로년디 덴데시 주주 지지 다 로년디나 가서 지 로년게 로종요 주다 로년즈니 다지 냐뇽요 주 덴데 가게 말이 당 가서 주디 가리 지원나다 지 자너 종라다 자너 종게 셰바 창마다 직준인바 다 보는 게 니츠디 운이 전에 세는 가줄라 세사메와지 토요바 로몽보게 종라다 생기는 게 강에디 지 셰트야기 디게 강라 다 가주 미몽보지 제들지니 두시다 지 치워리.
So the film Jigdil, or Leaving Fear Behind, was not made by one or two people. Actually, quite a lot of people who were involved. So many people risked their lives actually to express themselves in this film, and so many people put a lot of effort into this film. And the fact is, we were not professionals. We didn't come from filming background or documentary making background, but we really wanted, our main aim was to expose the Chinese government's lies, and our main aim was to show what Tibetan people inside Tibet were feeling towards the Chinese government.
다 자나 정라 베징게다 올림픽 리센전서 지무 토바딘송 다 자나 정게다 제치게 강라 기내몽부지 지요리 다 나진 크로스게다 저저 숙심부지 지요리 다 보기는 루아미 토타요바 지도정요바 마저정요바 아니 덴제기다 지 가르스고리다 스포르트다 보는 게 보르티즈 보 저르무치 보나라 페나 아니 크로스게 오고 지고 요리시 다 덴제기다 머리라 정크메피가네 다 햄바다 진자 단 자롱 용라 다 자농 주지는 자롱 용라 저적지워리 다 խපրտो के थोतेला पोकी नला ता हालेबी कांगे छिम्बुची ठेको योर पोकी ता शंजो मंचोके छुई जस्टेंटी ता जामे जुगो योबा ख़परतो ता चिन रंजो मंचोके ता पोलाइना ता रंजो मंचोके थोंचेती पोकी ता छुतेन जुरी ता तेजु ची जामे तयागे सचची लगतरची अनि चिचो रंल की टोंती सरवाला खायरनी ता जारु बुरचेंची ता पोकी नला निपुरची गोयोरी अनि तिनरेगे 가투치라 아니 가족을 혼연디다 딘데게 가투치라 키니 주주치 치월.
So after China was awarded the Olympics, the Chinese government actually made a lot of promises to uphold their responsibility as a nation which deserved the Olympics. But they also, so they made a lot of false promises, but they also publicized a lot of lies. And these included the fact that, they would say that Tibetans had political freedom, that they have freedom of expression, that they had everything they needed, and they were very happy. Not only that, they would also say that if the Tibetans were to ever see the Dalai Lama inside Tibet, that they would protest him, that they would be opposed to the Dalai Lama. These are the things that these were the lies that the Chinese government was spreading through the Olympics. Not just in China, but to the whole world. But we know for a fact that there was a critical situation inside Tibet. Not only was there no political freedom, no freedom of expression, no movement, our way of life was being targeted, especially the nomadic way of life, where nomads would be resettled into various reservations and basically snatched from their way of life into these reservations and completely controlled by the Chinese government.
다 로니에 디나네 나저 저지 삼바 미 정말라 진천 사우지 셰요. 아이 자미게 싱기레스 니도 땅베레스 종하나 주게레스 지지나 세스게레스 스위치게 하고요. 다 카운터 가지고 잔나게 다 직전 셰바 때나 가지고 다 그런소다다 리셰 사우지 제와리 마음바기 다 직지디조에 그런소다 리셰 사우지. ख़पर다 자노 조이나 같이나 다 저무치나 재미지고요. 다 가지고 다 아리기 다 준속기 여러분들 쓰기 동안 비주디 맞아 다 녀모고 때리 아니 크로스나 저저 다 보는 게다 강에디 맞아 다 보사용기 강에디 직발 근데 이제 사바 아니 가족이 다 군들아야 푸티하게 대시지 생기는지 이 크로스나 쉐요 다 크로스게 가리 쉐요 다 오늘 정리 군들아 해야지나 크로스게 지소티 쇼구나 크로스 조바 메시 다 메모고 지 우이디 뜻나라 가자 쉐요 되나라 아니 다메 자스게 가자시워리 잘흐즈게 셰지 삼바 다 디나라 메 럭버도 미 정말 용치 장자리 되나로라 다 저무치야 자녀요 말이 럭버도 다 지금 보너니 되죠 말이 슬로나 루뇨요주 딘제 말이 다 되나라 가리 총고 요리스나 잔너 중기 다 직진 쉐바텔라 다 고달은 사우치 제워 다 럭버도 가지고 머레티 지린 주고 요나이다 저런 부치라 대파탄스데 단다버도 다 줄메바티 사우치 다이워지 다 럭버도 ngazuge po meriti kita posa yonzo pome yonzo te janake ganjur chi wona ta ngazuge santi katuina ganjur chi ko mewa ke datak sauchi tan yori lonyen tenala ane tenala me mombo chi kita suge jiso tema jone zuju kita lonyen chi chhiyor.
So when we went about to make this film, we repeatedly warned the people that we were filming that there's going to be a huge risk to their lives, that they could be arrested, that they could be tortured, and that we actually couldn't guarantee whether they would be alive if they were arrested for this film. And it was all explained to every speaker that we featured in this film. But when we told them, when we showed them His Holiness winning the Congressional Gold Medal, and we said that this video of their reaction to His Holiness winning the Congressional Medal could be seen by His Holiness when he goes outside, every one of them said that I have no fear for my life. If His Holiness will see this video, then I really have no fear that my life will be sacrificed for this. So all of them, close to 100 people, said that they have no regrets to speak their mind if His Holiness will see this film. And many of them were actually very young people who have never been outside Tibet, who have never actually met the Dalai Lama, but they have this undying faith that was very clear in these videos. And one of the biggest things this documentary does is exposes China's lies, that people inside Tibet don't revere His Holiness anymore. It actually exposes all of this and actually reaffirms that inside Tibet, His Holiness, the faith and belief in His Holiness, the unwavering devotion to Him has actually not changed a single bit. Not only that, our bodies may be controlled, but our hearts will always be with His Holiness. And I think that was one fact that was made very clear with this film.
타티나라 미 자 타세케 가자셰요리 아니 타티나라 로년티나라 응이스 주주기다 미 주든 접제 지금 맞지 주요 말이 아니 로년티다 몽보다 두소랑보 쇼지 찾고요 근데 손상 아니 다 보용 보사 용기다 네탕게나라다 미 몽보지기 지금 네탕리 크로조기다 사자 수수기다 지금 산이기다 서저리 딘데기 럭터지 땅다 아니 몽보지 디나라다 로년 디나라 정말 좋아요리 이나양다 미 자출 허스케 가자셰주디 단다 로년나 조트요 말이 아니 미 몽보지기 디지라에 미 몽보지기 로아치 아니 크로조 가자셰기 이제 가프용니 로아치니 딘데 몽보지 레바리 딜레지 삼바 땅가조 찬조지 바리 다 몽보이나 다 몽적거와 아니 딘데지 찬조지니 로년디 다 정말 두소지니 파 고르체바리 로년나 고슬로라 조르체바리 아니 디지라 다 니마 가시지라 아니 가조 다 메몽보지 zonji바리.
So in the film Living Fear Behind, only 17 to 18 people were actually interviewed and asked for their opinions, when in fact there's actually 80 or so people whose videos actually haven't been shown. And even after the film was wrapped up, so many people came up to say they want to express themselves. They want to also be in the film and share their views on what happened, how they feel about His Holiness and about Tibet. But we had to wrap up the project at some point. So we had to make this short film and we had to decide to send this out. So after making this decision, we had actually sent it to the outside world.
탄존지 디삼바 저런게 중계기 리까지 샤지리 딱 대야다 된데 지가 요 말. 특별도 과제요 말이. 준느낌 루탄지 자와니 지요 말이. 딱 주메 루메기 존지 말이. 존지 디삼바 딱 보너네 딱 메치기니 말이. 보너니 딱지 보 메르라 샤시오니 자너 중에 똑바요지 되서 가투이나 존축축지고. 딱 알아나 타마스난 존지 말이. 단 존지 디삼바에 딱 강조 제거요리 러저 제거요리 아니 골라 그만 딱 이끈 포틴데 코니 사자과 치고는 하고 말이. 딘데기 따지 지나가는 수수이나 사자과 치고는 하마고 아니 나로와 손나다가는 크로즈라다 드란데 딘데 딱 가게면도 아니 럭바티줄라 찌제 아니 제 럭바기 강라 리다 딘데 찐다 마카메와 강네 찌제 파찬도 장 럭바니차 아니 골라 그만 넣고 로라 길라 로케스터 다 딘데기 너죠 니마 둔다 첸제라 니쿠게 마치와 칼라사게 마치와 다 딘제게 나쪽 땅바제.
So after the release of the film, I was arrested. But even after I was arrested, they had no evidence to say how I broke the law. What crime did I commit? They really had no evidence. They could only show the film. And inside Tibet, you have to know that people are arrested very easily. Anytime the Chinese government is suspicious of someone, they will easily take them to prison without question. I myself have actually been arrested 3 times when I was in Tibet. And when I was arrested, what they did was they put a black cloth over my head, and they handcuffed me, and then they took me, and I had no idea where they were taking me. I didn't know where I was taken, and after I was taken to a cell, my hands were shackled, and they put an electronic kind of a belt or device to kind of restrain me.
그런서 말 태운 삼바다 미 당당치 말 태운 거지. 양쪽야 동하나 로지 삼바 미 이게 반응치는 쪼리 맞은 루트고요 말이. 다미 딘데 내박이 땅이요. 아니 동хан 지긴 아니 주고요 말. 다 사자 가사과 고라제니 지고요. 하마고 바기 제다. 다 허벌트 게주로요 말이. 춘소바요 말이. 아니 딘제기 다 니츠 몽보다 나치고 말이. 제스동바 용조라다 고렌티 주니 누고요. 아니 허벌트 다 크론조게 니토 제기다 지다 주하나 아니 자나 의중기다 년토 레콘다 투시티리다 포케 간에 갈 수 있는 게 하고도 나 자미 크론조기다 고안퍼싱도 딘제기 미 가지치 nga tsayon bari ta rongkhana chibari rongkhana chirude samba krongzonga kari lebarisna ta krongzoge parchi chimbuchi kini lesha te leji samba churang dina kaja shegurese kaja kari shegure leji samba ani churang gita lonyen di jechigi gani tenshas ani me mombogi tishas janangla ta pe shuji gita karsigorita 지 무차우스나면도 다 땡에 포케 강라다 야고지 셰테금도 이나다 컨트롤 크론zul라 지 노슈라우 슈지 테샤스 아니 저런 게다 로년티 존느 속박이다 저런라 디주로 주고요지 아니 저런 게 너무다 지미 보고 파마니 디주 참마 자갈라 요리스 아니 덴데기다 니 로년티 마지나 크론zul게 지솔라 년가 요리스 아니 덴데지 디나 셰로지다 아니 저런 동하나니 대국고 말이지 저런 로조 동고지 저런라 배자 가지고나 제고스고 다 띵아 주고 말이 좀바 몽부지기다 지소 초고요 말이 산로 초고요 말다 다 너저 용거리 가서 이나 단다 런지 미소 너니 딘제기 너라 아니 미 딘제기 그냥 그 지소 보종기 미 그냥 그 지소 아니 허벌도 초바 딘제기 그냥 그 지소 다 디조 가서 니월도 시구야 돼 할위 개침불 다 잔너 종기 같이 이나 가리 시구나 다 보너니 보물 버리 디조기 다 디치게 좋아로니 대요리스 아니 슬로기다 전쇼미 증주리 다나진다 저무치라 다 할리비다 정조지고 크로즈기 너로라 투샹땅니 아니 다 같이 링크 비고 요리스 이제 보르상마다 너다 가르스고리 소시지 좋아 디치기 좋아로니 대요바 딘제기다 햄바시고요 디 제스 좀바 미 지금 말이다 가지고 말이 미 참마기 강라티 용고요다
So the fact for a Tibetan political prisoner is that all of us go in very healthy, and after we serve our sentence, we come out barely able to walk. That's the kind of difficulty and torture that our imprisonment results in. We are not provided any translators. We are always shifted in different cells so that we are not able to even know where we are. We ourselves don't know where we're being held because they shift us so many times. They transfer us to so many different prisons. And this actually is suffered by many Tibetan political prisoners, not just me. I don't know how to say the Chinese, the English, the Tibetan word for this, but there's a level of Chinese government called Guipo, and that level of official actually one time they tried to, they met me in a hotel. They took me to a hotel, and then they sat me down, and then they put a camera on me, and then they asked me, they said they wanted to film me, and they asked me to admit that my film has embarrassed the Chinese nation. That not only that, it has caused huge embarrassment to the leadership and the government, that I was directed by the Tibetan Youth Congress. They wanted me to admit that I was directed by the Tibetan Youth Congress. And the reason I'm making this film was because my family is in India, and that they, the 2IC, had threatened my family if I didn't make this film. These were the things that they wanted me to say. And then they said that if I admitted these things and if I stated these things in front of the camera, they would release me immediately. Not only that, they would give me a lot of money and give me anything I needed. Now, this is a very common tactic used by the Chinese government, and I think everyone should know. For every Tibetan political prisoner, they try to make these claims. Because they want the image that they want to portray is Tibetans are happy inside Tibet. The only reason that there are uprisings, that there are resistances, that there are protests is because outside Tibetans and the Dalai Lama's clique, they are the ones that are causing problems and causing division in Tibet. So these are the kind of tactics that the Chinese government uses.
다 정칸난 좋아해나 다 정칸난 게 자천 지거리 자천게 그나 다 정말 자녀인 봐 머르게 요함에 봐 니멍게 요함에 봐 아니 정막이 다 녜소 줄고 지고리 다 리카 지고리 리카 지나 니마 순자 투자 녜소 메페거네 리카 지고요 다 자르게 정바 대조이나 그런소 다 리카 지바이나 그런소라 다 로또 마라 뇽저 땅야게 스치지요 다 보바게 제스 정바 대조이나 다 가짜 리카 지바이나 고 마라 뇽저 땅야 요 말다 तातेमासे मिसुइसुला काजा शेकिन जो तातो चिनी हो ता नला खापर तोंच कोयो माज अनि दवा जेजिला सानो ये शिजिले इगे चिंटर गोता ताते गारिन जुगो ना जाव मुचिला चंजो जुगो सुसुगे चंचा tsमा ngilen ching कोयो ति माटना मे mombola dongo yo मे mombola नि दो टपु dongo yo ता तिनजे के गला मे mombo छि नेबा छजु राव ता तिनजे mombo yo ता तिनजे के गला ता गाजो मे खासि चिगे अनि 코야 년 수지 제발 정강나니 니또 찍니로라 아니 가족이 된 자녀 말이지 추랑족이 춘득이 강라 단 자녀게 강네 이게 찍지와리 소 걸보 강라 이게 넣고 찍지와리 다 이쯤 찍는 가족 자녀 뛰게 강라 추랑족이 대세치 저렇지 레버다 그런족이 다 담아대 그런족은 고트티 중 가족라 토요 말이 마트바지 가족 슬로란 눈이 미 찍라 다 제스 정박이 지금 니땅게 꼴티 슬로라 이게 찍고 봐지 가족 슬로라 수도 저렇지 아니 지네 그런족이 서인은 거 같아요 슬로라 소 정말 뭔가 대지 삼바 나 이게 드니 지워 이게 드니 코 지와리 코단 나코나 나콘지 지와리 동카나 딘다 다와 찍지와 지와리 나 니마 자주라 지와리 딘나라
So, according to the Chinese laws, everyone is supposed to be treated equal in prison. And the way it works is, when you're in prison, you're expected to do labor, prison labor. And when Chinese prisoners do the prison labor and they put in their hours, their sentences are actually reduced as a result. So they get to go out early. But for Tibetans, this never happens. No matter how hard we work, no matter how many days and hours we put in, we actually never get released early. It doesn't affect our sentence. So you can see that there is actually no equality even inside a prison for prisoners. So we're not allowed to have phone calls, and there's always extra surveillance, extra people supervising Tibetan prisoners specifically in prison. And every month, Tibetan prisoners are forced to write confessions saying that they're working for the Dalai Lama, saying that they're motivated by outside forces. And if we don't make these confessions, then again, Tibetans are tortured very badly as a result. So one day, I got together with some of my fellow Tibetan prisoners and said that we need to hold them accountable for this separate treatment of Tibetan people inside prison. And so we put together a letter to write to the head of the prison. We were actually never able to hand the letter to the head of the prison, but then we were able to actually send this letter outside, talking about our treatment, talking about how it was different for Tibetans versus Chinese prisoners. But somehow the head of the prison was able to get a hold of this letter when it was outside. And then what he did was he put us in solitary confinement. He put the person who wrote the letter, my friend, in solitary confinement, and he put me in solitary confinement for 81 days.
니마 자식이 지라 말아 요네 단 리셰 가야 제요 말 리셰 마제와기 거니 다 종카 지우제 말 동원기 다 음에 종카나 말 종카 지우제 말 종카 지우제 로지사바 아니 수수기 다 넘어다 대술라 다와 제라 투기 지요 말 토기 마지와 티 제네 투지사바 아니 크로즈기 다 자케 ರಂ게 거니 가제 셰고리 자케 ರಂ게 거니 마지 포켓 스치 셰 초고 말 덴데기 다 로치글라 찌글라 아니 동카 티 지네 테네 데바레
So after 81 days, I was released from solitary confinement, but there was no explanation given on why I was put in solitary confinement. But then after a while, again, the prison, my prison was changed. And then many a times what would happen is I would not be allowed to speak for many months after these kind of incidents. And not only would I not be allowed to meet my family for many months, when I do meet with them, I was forced to speak in Chinese. They would say that you cannot speak in any other language but Chinese when you meet with family.
다 정권안이 실화당바이나 양쪽 정권직이나 수요리다. 눈도 조승기 라메바. 아니 수수경 예막이 다 쪽보다 대술한 좋아지 마죠. 수사자 거한 좋아이나 크로즈라 년시자고. 가버던 곳이. 간데 누구요지. 아 크로즈긴 누군 진이 누나 단 당고요지. 크로즈긴 누군 진이 맞으나 그거요지. 다 خبر도 지금 만칸때야라 소바다 딘제기다 지금 도통 망보지다 제수 좀발라 자니 제고요 말이 다 제수 좀바제 마세 제수 좀바게 남마 디줄라 제고요 다 가다오이나 춘투다 디주 지가 주요 말다 누고요 말다 그런 속에 지금 춘투즈는 재미기 큰 오치 이게 참아 이게 공부한다고 되는이나 뭐 통기 이샤지요 하고는 다 대수 정말 주요 말이 다 대마체 니 쪽복 크로즈와 노식 제고요 나랑나 노식 제고 파트라 렌즈지야 대수가 강라 아니 크로즈가 가뚜이나 가버당야라 소파다 찍게 당네 아니 갈라사기 찍자다 동안이 아주 가자다 시다 다스다 순들다 다 진짜 못 지고요 다 나랑나위나 대사디에다 나로나 수수라 나요 말이 아니 밤안인 정말 좋자리 다 나랑게다 벤자 아작하시지요리 크론조 정말 남아 주주리 당가 크론조 산이 되어리 다 크론조라 숨부지 아니 크론조 벤자 데라 도수 당고리 아니 단다이나 리카 득자딘데 지야기 년가 요리 아니 크론조라 다자고요 아니 크론게 미수실란 로아지고나 아니 크론조라 레고요 다 덴데기 순슬 다 몽부 지바리
So after I was released, it was actually nothing like a real release. It was like I was transferred to another prison. There was no freedom of movement. My every movement was being watched very carefully. And every time I needed to go to a different town or city, or even a nearby place, I had to report my every movement to Chinese officials. I had no rights to medical treatment. Many families would receive these kind of documents that they can use to get medical treatment, and I could not even have access to those. I didn't even have a real home because my parents were gone, so I had to stay with my sisters who were not married at the time.
다 동칸안이 요치산바 다 수수 갈리시다 크요 말이 군이 제바다 수수 머리치기 동동라 동칸안 루주리 아니 수수이나 보바요와 찍게 강니 동칸안이 되어다 정칸안이 실로레지 삼바 아니 미다 윈부나지 지진이 되어다 수수기 높아요위 리카지 마트와 아니 수수기 다 쪽보다 디졸란 로아지 마트와 다 딘데기 다 강에 몽부지 제발 다 나지고 마임바 니 몽부지라 강에 되지 삼바 아 수수이나 다 다마텔라 다 리톤 침부지게 강에 다 로삼 우다네 아니 다 랭과 다 보여야기다 랭과디 템바지 아니 메모부지게 루파지요리 다 디졸라 테니다 나라이나다 딘장간에 아르라 조요리다
So actually, when I was in prison, I didn't feel that bad because I had gone to prison for my people and for my nation. But when I was outside, it was actually harder because now so many other people were suffering as a result. So many other people had to be uncomfortable. So many other people had to be very careful around me. And many people suffered because of this. So I had to make the decision to escape after I realized that me being even outside of prison was causing a lot of difficulties for many people, especially my family around me.
타니 터지기 지니 따보기는 다 하늘이 단자트 친구지 조요지 다른 데서 니모 모빌로는 미사당 다 대다 잔나 중기다 자원행이네 지고요 다 니모 자면 다 초유 대다 길에서 하는 지고요 이 마세다 보기 메이트만 다 다살을 놓고요 다살을 두면 다 이창 왕고치 주니 맞지 존재했던 거예요 존재께서 땅바이나 다 대사 수수 정기간에 대초고요 맞지 그런 속에 고드 찔린 롱칸 가와니 되고는 그런 속에 고드 게 올라마지 가수 롱게 루치고요 말. 땅 해마이나 가수 수중기다 베자타야라 속바다 몸보치다 자나게 돌차리다 그동치 차리. 다사 신지기세나 가수 해마이나다 보기나나 미 몸보 gond이 수수산이기다 gond이 몸보치니 보기 신지기세나 베자타긴 누구요. 다 디주 참마 매바 주요. 특별히다 보기 공부 몸보치라 녀무주. 아니 다 나진다 단다이나 땅 에마 니나 가서 녀무슨 나 다연 아니 텐데 몸보주야 다 특별히 공부하게 공덕 때조 에마이나 가서 라마 때조 공덕 치고 다 당사이나 자미 크론즈 공덕 치고 사자 몸보치니 그쇼다 때조 파츠아치 슬로란 루아이나 자노존라 축전시고 다 텐데게 공부 몸보치 정요 아니 특별히 보기다 지 리종게 콜라 아니 지 자나게다 시니어 컨텐데 몸보주요 시니어 컨텐츠가 나라다 길라 때조 참아 자미리다 다 이게 제야 때조 참아 자케 땅 자이키 거네 치고요 다 땅 아주기 보기 리종디다 자와니다 메프라던 거땅 에마이나 보바 때조기 자케 치고요 말다 다 땅선 보바 보리 전전다 보고 루든제 때조기 보게 신고요 말다 딘제기다 줄다치 세나만도 딘제기다 스치치 닥터치고요 말다
So there has been a major crisis in Tibet ever since the 2008 uprisings. There has been more than 160 self-immolations that have taken place. But the Chinese government never accepts these things. The Chinese government doesn't accept that their faults, that their mistakes in Tibet, their repression in Tibet has caused these self-immolations. In Lhasa, nowadays, nobody has freedom of movement. People are not allowed to go wherever they want, whether it's going to Lhasa or whether it's coming out from Lhasa. There are so many checkpoints and so many restrictions. Countless monasteries have been destroyed in the nearby regions in Lhasa, and many monasteries have security cameras on them installed. So there is no place actually that actually feels safe. Many monks are extremely restricted in their freedom of movement, and also even becoming a monk nowadays has been kind of controlled by the Chinese government. And schools, in schools nowadays, the Chinese government has built all these schools, but the medium of instruction is only in Chinese. Back in the days, many Tibetans couldn't speak Chinese, and that was a normal fact. But nowadays, young Tibetans, they only speak Chinese, and they actually don't know how to speak Tibetan.
다 당사 보기는 게다 사자대세 이가 되서 참마다 자나 용기다 용시던 거요다 그런 속에다 자는 게다 미몽부지 보기나라 지보려기 제도 사자대서 참마 자미기다 니보니 대zul라 다 총리녀야기 사자 몽부지 이권루사기 사자 몽부지 다 년제지니 자밀라 되고요다 다 자나 그런 속 야라 용나 그런저나 강바 요아리 강바기다 강바저 초야기 축전 참마르 요리 총리녀 초야기 축전 참마르 요리 땅 아주 보기다 루주기 간이다 사자대니 사치 두지시 주기 메대줄라 강이 요아 말이 축전 요 말다 다 덴제기다 머르가 인제기 스치지다 무세 도보기 럭터지고요다 다 단다 추초랑르기다 정대스와테 카이르니 죽전지고 잠이 몽부지 보기나라다 니포주기지 아니 머르 잠에나서 참마다 지지지리 되기지고요다 다 그런 속에 뭐한테 가르치나 다 보였디 자유라 줄이야 보르기티 자유라 줄이야 다 덴제기 럭터 다 무세 도보기 럭터 지고요 다 녀르도 보기 다 가르치고 다 당선 볼라 보 메르텔라 다 취대 저강다 지 마조 저강다 다 주아미 토다 다 티저 자니 요 말다 셰사 그런 요 말. 다 단단 아줄라 가리 강에 치고 미 정말라 주대 메와다 추아주대 등고 요 말다 다 덴제기 강에 지 다 가정들한테 제단 제지 말이 미 몸부지라다 덴제기 강에 치고 요
So the Chinese government, Chinese policies, one of the other things that they do is also they block off these beautiful areas inside Tibet, especially areas that are very habitable, so that they can actually make way for Chinese settlement. The Chinese settlement policy is a very dangerous thing for the Tibetan people, because the Chinese government's aim is to ultimately replace Tibetans with more Chinese people. So they would, the Chinese who would settle inside Tibet would get subsidiaries, they would get money, they would get jobs, they would be encouraged to build businesses in Tibet. The only reason is because they want to eliminate the Tibetan people and the Tibetan people's identity. For Tibetans, there is no freedom of expression, there is no freedom of movement. So it's a very critical situation inside Tibet.
아니 다 트런 데라 다 차지기 가자 뭐시에면 아니 가랑이나 다 리크 스난다 아니 먹다야 지가시지요 아니 트런 데라 다 보통 자주라 자르 몽수 돈이와 아니 보통 기타 보통 대초바 링크바 몽부지 데라 펜도 하진 가우죠 아니 다 가족이 단다이나 보는 기타 니츠 디조 가족이다 유지야 디조기 주차 디조 출라 초두지야 아니 가족이 다 대족이 강라 수두지야 드드지야 다 대족 가족 몽부지 다 만당와 몽부지 한도 아니 대족이 강라 다 가족이 다다 란젠 로트 촉바다우리 다 딘제기 다지 촉바 몽부지 년제기 강니 다 대난제기 가족 단다이나 메트도 대족 드드지야 아니 하정기 개침부 통소 아니 가족 상마다 독사 직직인 군이 딱 가족 초가 인체 대족 가족라 다 초가시야라고 다 취르시야 대족 가족라 구야데 리면도 가는 게 다디나 트란데라 보르몽 부친도 오야 다 자는 다 자는 게 가zul다 보는라 민다게 올라다 미몽 부치기다 언니 자는 콘텐츠게 가zo 미르 지 조가게 가자디 쿠즈 단다벌 때 세녀요 말 가zo 정말라다 카트랑로 시디 자는 종게 멍테 트레버 가zo 데니 다 베데 디게 슈디베 침보로 와디 가zo 못 사고야 지 오야 대조나 가족의 운이 장내겠지 대조기 따와티 드로니 가족 보기 다 지역이 가득히 간다시 세공도 가족 가리지 등도 가족라 지야 뭐도 참마 독사 지르거니 아니 지태야 지역이 다 리아팅 하는 게다 드란디니 아니 참말라다 냥 특반이 네 락반이 차 디모지니 되지 지샤이
So I would like to conclude my speech today, and I would like to recognize again the many supporters and activists for Tibet that I see in the room. I'm very, very happy to see you here to join us for this important occasion. I really believe that we need to work even harder than before. There are so many things we can do. There are so many areas that we can improve in terms of campaigning, in terms of building awareness for Tibet. There are groups like Students for a Free Tibet who do this kind of work for human rights, and we need to encourage these kind of groups. We need to encourage people being involved for Tibet in this way by campaigning. And I really want to point out that the kind of regionalism that exists among some Tibetans and the religious sectarianism is something that we just don't need. We don't need this right now. And really, in China right now, but the Chinese government, they constantly use this word called inciting separatism to say that, Tibetans are trying to be separatists. But this kind of regionalism is not something that they have used yet. And we should be ashamed of this kind of divisive thinking outside here. I really think that there are so many things we can do if we don't focus on these negative aspects. I really believe that there's much we can do in solidarity, in unity, and there are many things we can improve. And my hope is that you will continue to do and work together with me for the future of Tibet. Thank you.
She was one of my first introductions to the Tibetan freedom movement. I saw her back in 1997 in San Francisco speaking to thousands of people at a time when Tibet wasn't really that well known. And I remember being absolutely captivated, like everyone else in the audience, wondering what I could do to help support a free Tibet.
It's funny that you bring up the speeches that Ladun gave in San Francisco, because I was in San Francisco. I was about 15 years old, and it was the 2008 Olympics campaign was going on. And I remember seeing Ladun on stage. And it was one of the very first times that I saw such a strong Tibetan on stage, a young Tibetan, but even more so than that, a strong Tibetan woman. And I think so many of us here have been inspired by Ladrin. I know I personally have been so inspired. So without further ado, we are so happy to welcome Ladrin to the stage. Woo!
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. And it is wonderful to be here in New York City with all of these people, all of us who made the Olympics campaign on many levels a success. I'll start inside Tibet with Thundu Wanchula. Everything that I think we all know from the outside, everything that we do, our guiding light and our guiding star is the Tibetans inside Tibet. That's for me over the last 20 so years of activism for Tibet. That's what I feel like always keeps me on the right path. Or when things are difficult, when there are internal politics, which there always are, when there are complications, obstacles, things that get in our way in our work, if we go back, I find if I go back to the situation inside, the incredible courage and bravery like Thundu Wanchula and every single person who was a part of that film, then that for me kind of recenters me. That's how I feel like I get back on the right track and remember what matters and try to stay out of, although it's not always easy, try to stay out of the day-to-day petty politics that I think just every movement faces, or every group of people, every organization faces. And we're fighting an incredibly massive battle. So I think for all of us to look inside Tibet and to see the light that shines from inside endlessly and beautifully, that is sort of what I think we need to hold on to. And to have Thundu Wanchula here at that moment when that film, when it was clear that this film was coming out with these voices that were telling the true story, that were speaking the truth at that time, really, if we can go back to that moment, it was like a miracle. It was like, this is what we were trying to do. All those years leading up to the Olympics in 2008 in August, but we knew from 2001, China was awarded the games. We just wanted, all of us, I think, we all felt the anger, the frustration, the sense of injustice that Beijing and China would get these games, considering what they were doing in Tibet and East Turkestan and to their own people. So we had that frustration, that anger, and then we just wanted to make sure we knew they were going to use the games to try to whitewash the occupation of Tibet, to try to, change the facts, change history. And we just wanted to help Tibetans inside have their voice and speak the truth in this moment that Beijing, the Chinese government, did not want to be heard in the world. And then Tibetans did it themselves from inside Tibet. And it was such a incredible gift that it was so clear and so explicit in that film. It really, blew us all away. And there are no words to say the thanks, the gratitude from everybody on the outside to all of the people in the film and to Thundu Wanchula and all the sacrifice that his family and Hamotso have made to just have taken the Tibetan movement and that moment in history to a new level through this film and through that moment. Just quickly, looking at all the photos of all the places and all the people who came together for no reason other than justice, truth, freedom, to do what's right. Like if you think of what motivates a group of people to do anything, I think in this world we are so often led to believe it's all self-interest, it's money, it's this, it's that. The Olympics campaign in this small way is this window into what humans are capable of. The caring, the love, the compassion that people who aren't Tibetan can have for people on the other side of the world, a place that they've probably never been to, never seen, themselves, certainly a lot of the activists involved in these actions, where people did risk their lives, you know, on Everest, on the Golden Gate Bridge, in Beijing during the Olympics, many other places. So many people, so many young Tibetans who've grown up in freedom, who have everything that they kind of need to live a good life. But we all came together over a number of years to do something, to work for something greater than ourselves. And so many people so tirelessly, and putting in long, hard, painful hours. Like if I think of how many hours Jane Stein and Jeff have put in to making the banners, to having us turn up on their doorstep, call them in the middle of the night, call them last minute with some incredibly difficult order, like, can you help us make banners to hang on the Golden Gate Bridge? We're going to stitch the letters onto massive fishing nets, or, you know, things that would be difficult for anybody. But people like Jane and Jeff opened their house, opened their hearts, gave us so much of their time for so many years. This is the example. This is the example. These are the things we have to hold on to when times are difficult. This is what we have to remember when, I know this world right now, certainly the political situation has changed so much, even here, let alone in Tibet and in our internal Tibetan world. But it's the good people and the true good work for justice that we have to hold on to. I just want to give a sense of what went down with the Olympics campaign over those years, because sometimes, I mean, I couldn't even remember the numbers, but we had over 7 years, we did actions in something like 40 some cities. There was a protest on Mount Everest. There was a banner. There's a banner on Mount Everest. There was a banner on the Great Wall of China. There was a couple of protests in the heart of Beijing. There were protests in cities from Vancouver to Toronto, Athens, Tendor, and a team of mostly young Swiss during the Olympic torch relay launch. Paris, there's maybe a banner stashed in the Eiffel Tower still. London, obviously the Golden Gate Bridge, one of the most incredible banner actions we've ever seen. There were blockades in Ottawa. There were daily protests in Cambridge, in Harvard Square, in Boston, also in Vancouver, also in the Bay Area. So many people. Tupten, my dear old partner in crime, Tupten Syrian, reminded me today on the phone, don't forget about all the people who did all the daily actions in the Bay and in New York and Union Square, and just all these people who held vigil during the games themselves and just said, wherever we are, doesn't matter how far away we are from Beijing right now, we'll do our own protests. We will be with Tibetans inside Tibet in solidarity. There is such great power in that kind of action and this kind of movement, and this is what the Chinese government knows. This is what they fear. This is why they've taken this all so seriously. So what we did is one thing, but what it means is something else. And I think in times like these, which are tough, we have to look back and realize that what we did and this moment in time, we changed history. Tibetans inside Tibet changed history. Tibetans in exile, together with our supporters, we changed history. The Chinese government planned to use those Olympic Games for one thing. We all know what it was. And they did not get to do that in the way that they wanted. If they wanted to use those Olympic Games as this moment to say, the Tibetan issue is done, really, there may have been a problem in the past, but it's settled now, and there's no problem here. They failed. They failed badly. There wasn't just a global uprising and protest. There was an uprising in Tibet of historic proportions. What happened from starting in March 2008 certainly changed the course of Tibetan history. And the people who, like those in Thunde Wangchunla's film, those Tibetans inside Tibet, these are generations who've grown up only knowing life under the Chinese government. They don't remember, like my father, a free and independent Tibet, where Tibetans govern themselves and their lands. They don't remember that. Far from it. They've grown up under, living with so much propaganda, daily surveillance, daily, even if they've been more free in some of the areas outside of central Tibet that have had more freedom over the years, everybody knows and has suffered in some way, their families, their friends, the ramifications of the occupation and of not being truly free. And these, middle school students, teachers, nomads, monks, nuns, everybody, people from all walks of life participated in that uprising in such a way we have to remember how much the Chinese government cares about the details. Because the details matter. And when you have an uprising of this, this scale, with so many people from so many walks of life, you can't just easily explain it away. You can't just say that TYC and the Dalai clique made this happen. And, this matters. So when we're fighting these daily battles, the campaigns that SFT is still waging, and the Tibet movement is still engaged, this movement did not begin and end with the Olympics. It was one important piece of a long story that is still unfolding. But the campaigns and the work that we do today matters still, every bit of it. And I think if we are, though I know sometimes it feels overwhelming and you hear about the situation inside and it's like, what have we done? What difference does it make? Where does it end? Well, on one level, we don't get to know those answers, and that's not the point. We fight and we work because it's the right thing to do. That's just basic. But on another level, if we stand back and look at what we've been able to do against all odds, what Tibetans inside Tibet have been able to do against all odds, 6 million people, a majority Buddhist nation, with a monk as a leader, for 6 decades faced off against one of the most powerful nations on earth in terms of military might, by sheer population, this sort of rising power we keep hearing about. If you look at what Tibetans have been able to do, it is testament to what is possible if people have, the heart and the commitment. And I feel like, for me, certainly, that's what I need. That's all I need. Stand back, look at the big picture, and then look, if not at ourselves sometimes when we may waver, look at the Chinese government. Look at what they care about, what they're trying to do, what they're worried about, and know we're on the right track. Because they know the history's not written, it's not over. And as long as this question remains, was Tibet free, independent? Do Tibetans want their own nation? Should Tibetans be a separate country, an autonomous, whatever? You name it. If those questions remain, and if Tibetans and our supporters keep this end unwritten, ultimately anything is possible. History teaches us that. Everything is possible. And as much as the depressing global political situation right now makes one think, oh gosh, where is it all going? Like, is this just too much? For me, it also makes me think things change. They go right and they go wrong. We never know what is around the corner, but if people like us, and if the Tibetans, and if our supporters stick true to our beliefs, if we do our best to be strategic, which I think we were during the Olympics campaign, and I think Tibetans inside were incredibly strategic, certainly Tundu Wangchunla and his cohorts were. If we can do our best to fight with the sort of the smartest strategies and plans and the tools that we have available to us, I firmly believe that we can not only achieve our goals, but that we can actually get there sooner than we even think. And when I look at it wasn't always clear. Now we look back and think, oh, the Olympics campaign, and we did this and this and this because of this reason. It wasn't always that clear. If I think of when China won the Games in 2001, when it was announced, we spent a lot of years trying to convince people, and sometimes even ourselves, that this was like the right strategy. I remember people saying we were being reactive and we shouldn't get so caught up in this one thing because there were other important issues, and we went with our gut, good strategy, brilliant support from many, many corners, and the guidance, the guiding star from Tibet. And I think that's the magic. I think that's what we have to do from here on in. It's not going to be easy. We know that. But this is, this is our fate. This is what we're meant to do. And if I think back to if people in 59 or in the 50s or the resistance in the East, that led to help spark the 59 uprising, if they had said, well, the odds are terrible and the Chinese are going to overwhelm us, and maybe we shouldn't, fight this battle. Maybe we shouldn't go out in this way or that way. If my grandfather back in the day had said, well, maybe we shouldn't, there's so many Chinese that are going to come, maybe we shouldn't try to secure Tibet's eastern borders. If they had made different decisions, we wouldn't have the history we have now to hold on to. We wouldn't have what we need to move forward, to fight, and to make this case that we are making still, inside and outside together, regardless of the difficulties and the troubles that come. So I am grateful to SFT for continuing to do this hard work, the board members, the staff. I know it's not easy. If every person in this room, if you don't do one other thing, please leave here tonight or this week and sign up to be a monthly donor, a sustainer. That's something everybody can do for even $5 a month. That is what every big organization, you will notice, the Greenpeaces, the Oxfams, all of the big, well-resourced nonprofits know that the future, the security, long-term security for an organization is in the monthly giving. So I think we should do that too. But be involved. The Olympics campaign happened because people were involved in front, behind the scenes, underneath, on a houseboat in San Francisco, to an apartment in South Korea, to a hotel room in Bangkok. The Olympics campaign, 200 people went to Beijing that summer, but thousands were involved overall around the world. And I think that's the key. Work together, guiding light from inside Tibet. And whatever happens, we can't lose hope. Losing hope, losing faith is a luxury, that despair that we can't afford. So I look forward to working with you all on many more campaigns, and mad respect to SFT and all you guys who do the hard work every day in the office. Thank you.
She is a young Tibetan who I met back in, don't get hit in the head, back in 2007. And I met her back at Tanager Lodge, which has a Tibetan youth program. And Pema Doma represents to me the rising face of Tibetan leadership.
So in the last year or so, Pema Doma co-founded the SFT American University chapter. She's also interned at the SFT office, continues to take on new leadership positions. So we are so excited to have Pema Doma here.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. So first of all, thank you all for joining us here tonight. That's the most important thing, that you guys made it out here. I also want to give a special thank you to Tundup Wangchen La and Kharan Chetong La, first and foremost, for their bravery and all the work that they've done for Tibetans living inside Tibet and in exile over the years. And also thank you for joining us tonight to share your amazing experiences and stories. So thank you. So we're here tonight to commemorate the 2008 uprisings inside Tibet and around the world. For those of you that have had a chance to look around the room at the photo exhibit, the faces, the passion, the hope that you saw in those photos, that is what the 2008 uprisings meant to so many young Tibetans around the world, young Tibetans like myself. In 2008, I was only 13 years old. Although I cared a lot about Tibet, I didn't know anything about movement building or public speaking or organizing workshops or direct actions. I was literally just a 7th grader. But that was the year when I learned about hope and resilience inside Tibet. 2008 was the year that I saw the Tundup Wangchens and Kharan Chetongs of my own community rise up. And they came in all shapes and sizes. I remember there was a 22-year-old Achala from my community, and she had beautiful, long, shiny hair. And in 2008, I remember standing with hundreds of others, watching her shave her hair in front of the entire public because of her devotion and dedication for freedom and human rights inside Tibet.
대리대미 망고 슈 좀샤로 라바도 당한 저기 탑절라 갑조칭에 망고 슈 좀샤 베란저 루루 소발라 갑조칭에 망고 좀샤 다 대리게 간저기 미규 조디 맞아 대 좀치에 나랑 저기 탑절디 수 지티에 시에데 디다 냠도 아니 마음방 가지고 무투니 탑절디 윤종 가리 제고도 디다 냠도 나부터 시게 대 가지고 치게 갑조와 망고 슈 칠레도와 대간 니동 게게 리규 값소라 베이징 나로라다 야나 나로라 아니 배낭로라 리뷰배가 프랑스 망고치 대패여와 군조 로다 망고치와래 군조 배번 마르테 이니야 베란조 루부 쪽에 총미다 야biểu 차디도와 군조파 드로치 네 고야체와이나 군조기 잘라카시 치키레 가선 자기야 윤에 태동 땅국으로와 이 잘라디 키치 키지 시바이나 로추 동하나로 쭉 시기래라니 군조 제디 팀그 돈에 된데기 내가 친구지는 마시브 돈에 벽에 갑기 아니 즉 벽에 탑주를 야biểu 치는데 내게 망고슈죠 대송상 가지고 고급 디심체 무투네 제왈라소 치야다 무투네 아니 그래서 탑주기 용종 지역이 좀이유 내리 차되기도 와 지난 시간도 대야 야교와 같이 실내셔와 땅에 인계나로 휴초와치 아니 지가 맞아 가서 그래 망치에 지게 와패도 와 So thank you everyone for joining us today. I want to thank each one of you on behalf of Students for Free Tibet to coming to this like really important occasion. And I can see we have a lot of like supporters and our members. We have Chinese democracy activists here. We have activists from Southern Mongolian. We have activists, of course, like like Rostang, who's a prominent Chinese democracy activist. And we have a lot of supporters, our members and our activists who have been part of this campaign during 2008 and risked, your life and went to Tibet and went to Beijing. And I'm truly honored to be with you. And I'm honored to, share a stage with Tundu Wanchela, who was back then in Tibet, taking action. And this is a really, really important time. And our movement right now is at a critical stage. And we need your support. We need your contribution more than ever before. And as Tundu Wanchela said, there are so many things that we can do. But I just want to share a very short story. Because I do face some time, maybe you might face that too. When I go around, people say, oh, you are a Tibet activist. That's so great. But do you really think that Tibet will win? Do you really think that you can able to fight against the Chinese communist regime, so powerful right now in terms of the military, economy? And I do face those kind of questions. But I want to share a story. When I was in India back then, when Tundu Wanchela was arrested, Lamoso visited our office at SFT India. And Lamoso was at the forefront for the Tundu Wanchela's campaign to release him, to keep him safe. We know that when someone got arrested, it is really dangerous. Sometimes people die or sometimes people got killed. We have so many bad experiences, whether it's a Tibetan political prisoner or Chinese political prisoner. So as much as we were involved, in my mind, I was again, at that time, like, will we able to save Tundu Wanchela? That was always there. But working with Lamoso, she never gave up. She continued to fight. And I'm so honored and inspired to get this opportunity to work with her. And with her deep and commitment and determination and courage, we have Tundu Wanchela here today. And I know back then, some of people might have said, oh, Tundu Wanchela, and when they hear about Tundu Wanchela, whether we will be able to save him or not. But we can, when we are committed, when we push ourselves in a way that what we dream for, we will achieve it. And for the Tibet movement, and in general, as the former speakers have mentioned, it's a critical time for the democracy and freedom movement around the world. But we should not give up. As I said before, we have Chinese democracy activists. We were doing some meeting a couple of days ago with the Southern Mongolian activists, with activists from East Turkestan, Chinese democracy activists, Tibetan, Hong Kongers, Taiwanese, and we are planning to, join together, to work together as a movement fighting for freedom and justice. And when we come together as a united force, China, as a communist regime, couldn't stand with us. Even we see from outside China as a powerful, or like right now, as a powerful oppressive regime. But what they are doing right now, putting over 1 million Uyghur in East Turkestan under detention center, is a sign that they are weak, they are threatened. That's why they're putting the Hong Konger students activists behind prison, because they're threatened. And I see right now Xi Jinping is so much threatened, that's why they try to crush. And more that Xi Jinping try to do that, it brings us more together and united. And I just want, at the end, for you, when you leave this room, I hope that you will have this courage that Lamotso had when she was fighting for the release and safety of Tundu Wangche. With that commitment, and as an organization, Students of Free Tibet, we are committed. We will continue to fight for our freedom until Tibet is free. So thank you so much for joining us.
First, I want to introduce Kirsten Westby, who is a non-Tibetan supporter who went to Mount Everest to support the first Tibetan exile.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dalla. So,
Hi.
Of course.
Yeah, I'll be really brief. Tibet has touched my life in so many ways. It started with my parents, who became Tibetan Buddhists in the 70s, as the first sort of wave of Tibetan teachers hit the United 90s uprising, who received an asylum green card and came and lived with my family. He was 18 and I was 13, and he explained to me about what had happened inside Tibet in a way that I didn't understand as an American. And then in 2005, I was fortunate enough to go with him and his wife and spend a month traveling around the Tibetan Autonomous Region, camping, mainly with nomads, and I got a chance to see young Tibetans who weren't allowed to learn their language and would practice in water on boards so that it would dry before anybody could see it. And I got a chance to see some of the forced resettlement of the nomadic communities, and it broke my heart. And I thought, what can I do? I'm just one American girl. And then in 2007, I received a phone call that the Everest actually was going to take place. I had been to Everest pretty recently and had done the process of getting there. So I knew for the first time that I had something very significant to contribute to this team going to Everest, and that I had spent a lot of time thinking about, why is my life worth more than somebody else's? Why is my passport give me certain types of protections that other people don't get? And so I was super honored that I had this role to play. I knew that I had very specific skills to help get the team to Mount Everest. And I don't think I was fully aware of what was going to happen next, but I felt so inspired by Tibetans, by those nomads, and by the young Tibetans trying to learn their language, that for me, it was kind of a no-brainer that this was my moment to put my life on the line for Tibet. And I was very honored to do so. And I, thank you.
That trip forever changed my life, and looking back, I now realize, and just like Doseden said earlier, although many people often doubt, will Tibet ever be free? Like, do we have it? Do we have it in us? Does Tibet have it in it? You know, people like Tundu Wangche, the Tibetan people inside Tibet, and their courage and the resilience and just the fearlessness. And of course, many people, of course, have the fear, but they overcome the fear. And Tundu Wangche's story, to me, makes me believe, actually, because of people like him, Tibet will be free. There's no doubt about it. China the Chinese government is much, much, much more fragile than we think. Because of people like Tundu Wangche, because of people like Golo Jigme, because of people like Jaya Tsudim, because of people like Rongye Adrak, Tinzi Dele Rinpoche, and we can go on and on and on. Because of all those people, Pante Gyatso, Ngawa Sangdeo, Nonzi Wangmo, all those people, there is no way that the Chinese government can erase us from history. Impossible. And I also want to say, because of people like Kirsten who just spoke, and our friends who support us, and sometimes it can be easy to forget, but I think we have been blessed. The Tibet movement and the Tibetan cause has been blessed with some of the most dedicated, most brilliant, most talented, most skillful people in this world who support us. And I also believe that because of people like them, because of people like our supporters who have been with us for so many years, and there is most people don't have a stake in a country like Tibet, but these people support us in such a way that it is really hard to find another cause in this world who have a similar level of support, similar level of dedication, people who are ready to make sacrifices. And I just remember that when we were in Tibet together, we all knew that because I was Tibetan, I would be treated worse than the others. And without me knowing, they had actually made a pact among themselves that until and unless the Chinese government let me go as well, they would never leave Tibet without me. So I think because of these two things, we have truth on our side, we have history on our side, and now we have the land. Don't forget, we have the land on our side too. So there's no doubt that Tibet will be free. And when I look at it, I don't think of the Free Tibet movement as trying to make something that is impossible possible. I think what it really is we're trying to make something that is inevitable just happen a little bit faster, just happen a little sooner, And in order to make it happen sooner, everybody has to contribute. Everybody has to push. We need every hand on deck. We need every ounce of energy people have, every ounce of time people have, right? And also contributions. It's donations and contributions that keep the Tibet movement running forward on top of the energy and the courage of a lot of people who are inside Tibet as well. So my request to all of us tonight is, if you can, please make a donation to Students of Free Tibet, a donation that you can afford. Please don't make a donation that you cannot afford. I don't want to take responsibility for that. But if you can, please, if you find it in yourself, please make a donation that you can afford to Students of Free Tibet, because SFT as an organization and the Tibet movement basically turns every penny to its maximum work. We get the biggest bang for the buck from this investment. So I don't even want to think of this as a donation. It's an investment in the future of Tibet, in the human rights for Tibet, in freedom and independence for Tibet. So I want to thank everybody here for your support of the movement, for your generosity, and I hope we'll see you. We continue to walk forward in the years to come until Tibet is free. Thank you so much. And just one word in Tibetan, for some of the older Tibetans like Kushal and Ching and others, 단단한 직 튼두지 디슈고 삼수 믹스에게 가란소 다 배바 임베 주고라 상맥이 후다 바다 치니 겜벨라이 주고레 짭주 치고레 샨뎁 떼고레 빠치 위에 로 장보시나 아니 아 수림 삼라다오다 되는 간조 미카시지 요르다 쿠샬 체 카시지 겜베지게 체만 용라는 디고르다 장보시나 로 그래서 디게인도 잠발라 가란소기 뒤즈에 땅에 주고레 아니 대낭 신기 냠돌라 가뚜네 야 샨뎁티엘라 속바다 덴데 강라에 후다바다 치데고다 딩 알아서 장부시나 보아토네 제 두에지 제 초회지를 해서 한번 들어와 니기 돈에 니동 삼삼 캥기 말이야 니동 올림픽스 캠페인 디 중도에 줌제디 장부시나 알아서 호주 야니 따직 소소라자 시라메네 우주견이 샨뎁티기 로데 직 차데요래 니동 기기 주고라 진짜 죽직레 중이레 지나라 니주 신부 중수와 단다 월스트리트 배코라 토르스와 아니 잠블링기 직뮤기 되게 참 마딥 되는 치디 디기 어리 제가 어리다 단다 제가 심박하시지 않을 답시 슈다 벤조 배코라 마딥 용두 잠발라 NGO 망부지 고자고 케어 슌데 마이메 초바리 줘라 망부 슈지 고자르다 그 뒤뒤 잠발라 시계 잡조칭에 카다 믹스에게 초바카 파운데이션 되게 카되기 베베기 짜도인게 강라 샨뎁ting에 되게 망부지 매와 차 할람 시라기 용으로 치 카시 예로다 때마도와 차 믹스에게 잡조칭에 망부지에 압수마동에 되는 차대로와 그 뒤뒤 삼발라 로드 소바데 무투니 네 투비에게 좀전 투사 가와 투여스나 니마 소속깔리 갭니 라자 뉴뉴마도 메네 레가 치니 로데니 벼봐 망부치기 소소 게르기 후다 바다깔리 캡체 고문압 주지 매네션데 캡자지 매네션데 캡데 치기 디기 션데 디기 로드 소바다 소바 셴바카시지 캡투바리마도 셴바 빼 마시 가고 차고 게가 소바 셴바 망부지 고자요 디는시 단데 뒤져 될라 자위깔리 가고 요래 베베 탑조낭 롤레 갑ring 알아서 깔리 망부 체디기 요래 덴데기 뒤져 갑델이야 직 상미기 후다 바다시는 알아서 슈크데스 캡투바이나 아니 마옹발라 무투니 레가 직 랍셴부 제라 소바다와 덴데 강라니 직 믹스에게 디낭로 쳄시 탑수 강라 레가 체딩에 소고셴 바솔라 삼로지 땅체 수수응원의 강투바디 샨뎁지 낭투와이나 빼마시 펜토고 용그레 상부터 도제나 아니 I will pass these envelopes so and Ugin will be helping some others will be helping us so that we can pass these to everyone equal opportunity and also basically don't feel bad if you're not able to donate. You can just write a message, write a note. Don't feel pressured. This is basically, we just want to give it to everyone so that those who are able to donate and who can afford something can actually help give some oxygen to this amazing organization. Thank you.
Yes, we can take them digitally as well. Thank you so much for asking.
Thank you so much. So as Thendolar mentioned, I think he touched on two of the ways, but yes, there are three ways all of you can take